All right, today we're going to break down a major strategic shift that's happening in the accounting world. We're talking about how top CPA firms are using offshore tax support not just to survive the busy season, but to actually get a huge leg up on the competition. So let me ask you this. Does tax season feel less like a predictable cycle and more like a recurring nightmare? With impossible deadlines, mounting pressure, and your best people getting totally burned out? If that sounds familiar, then you are absolutely in the right place. And look, that feeling of being stretched to the absolute breaking point, it's not just your firm. It's an industry-wide problem, really a symptom of an outdated model. But here's the good news. There's a really powerful strategic shift happening right now that is completely changing the game for firms that are ready to adapt. Okay, let's dive right in. Let's really unpack the core problems that so many modern CPA firms are wrestling with. I mean, it's kind of the perfect storm, isn't it? You have these massive workload spikes hitting you at the exact same time the talent market is tighter than ever. Trying to find experienced local pros is a huge challenge. And what does that lead to? Yep, staff burnout. And all of this is happening while your clients are demanding faster and faster turnarounds. These pressures are exactly why forward-thinking firms are realizing they can't just work harder, they have to start working smarter. So, how in the world do you break that cycle? Let's turn to the strategic solution that's quickly becoming a really powerful answer to that whole tax season squeeze. At its heart, offshore tax prep is pretty simple. It's the strategic delegation of that high-volume tax work to qualified professionals in other countries. But here's the key part. These aren't just generalists. They are specialists, people specifically trained and proficient in U.S. tax standards, which makes them a pretty seamless extension of your team back home. And this right here, this is the critical mindset shift. This isn't about just blindly outsourcing tasks and, crossing your fingers and hoping for the best. No way. It's about intelligently building a partnership to extend the capacity and the capability of your existing in-house team, which frees them up to do higher value work. So what does this shift actually get you? Let's break down the incredibly powerful, tangible advantages for your firm's growth and, well, its sanity. First, and honestly, this one's a total game changer. You get instant, stress-free scalability. I mean, just imagine having the power to double your prep capacity for the tax rush and then scale right back down when it's over, all without that brutal cycle of hiring, training, and then laying off seasonal staff. Second, of course, is a major boost in cost efficiency. But here's the really strategic play. The smartest firms, they don't just pocket the savings. They reinvest that capital right back into the business, maybe fueling new tech, better marketing, or developing those high-value advisory services that really set them apart from the competition. Third, you can literally make time work for you. By leveraging different time zones, your firm basically creates a 24-hour work cycle. Your offshore team is getting work done while you sleep, which dramatically speeds up your ability to hit even the tightest client deadlines. It's a huge competitive advantage. And finally, you break free from those local hiring constraints. Instead of competing for a really small number of local candidates, you get direct access to a deep global talent pool of experienced pros who are already skilled in U.S. tax standards. It solves one of the biggest bottlenecks holding firms back from growing. This all sounds great in theory, right? But how do you actually make it work in the real world? Let's walk through the essential practical steps for getting this right. Okay, this part is absolutely crucial. Your success here hinges almost entirely on your partner. This is not a commodity service. You have to be selective. You need to demand proven expertise in U.S. tax law, non-negotiable data security, crystal clear communication, and a model that can really truly scale with your needs. The firms that really crush this, they all follow a similar playbook. They start small, with a little pilot program to dial in the workflow. They document all their processes like crazy. Critically, they always keep the final client-facing review in-house. And maybe most importantly, they treat it like a true long-term strategic partnership. And this right here, this busts one of the biggest fears people have. The myth is that your quality will suffer. But the reality is, when you put strong, standardized processes and review layers in place, a lot of firms actually report an improvement in their consistency and accuracy. It's a fascinating, kind of counterintuitive result of having a really good system. Okay, let's wrap this up by looking past just one tax season. Let's focus on the long-term, transformative impact this whole strategy can have on the future of your firm. Look, when you implement this thoughtfully, it's not just a temporary fix. It's about building a fundamentally smarter, more resilient operating model. You slash team burnout, you make your clients happy with faster service, you get control over your costs, and you finally free up your best people to focus on that high-margin advisory work that actually grows the firm. So the takeaway is pretty clear. The pressures of the modern accounting world, they aren't going away. The firms that are going to lead the industry tomorrow are the ones adapting strategically today. So really, the only question left is, how are you going to make it work for you?